Orleans is a great food city for a variety of reasons. One of the dishes, though, that's certainly emblematic of New Orleans for many folks from New Orleans is red beans and rice.
You know, in New Orleans, that's what we do on Monday. You don't think of having anything else but red beans and rice. So I grew up as a kid looking at my mom, Chef Leah Chase, cooking red beans and rice, and on Mondays, we knew what we were going to have.
Nobody likes to start off the week on a Monday, but you come home and you got a wonderful, glorious pot of red beans. At that moment, when you take that first spoonful, you rest, and you know that you're home.
Anybody who grew up in New Orleans has that indelible red bean burned into their taste memory from the very earliest age.
When I used to come home from college, my grandma would always make me red beans and rice. That was her way of saying that she loved me and she was welcoming me home.
It's like a big pot of love. That's all it is. It's like mother's milk, you know? You get used to it and, hey, you want to stay on it for the rest of your life. You know? That's what it's like. It's just good for you.
Those red beans just show up all over the place. If it's a Super Bowl party or a carnival event or the day after a hurricane, red beans will be there. They're just a perfect community food. And those red beans and rice have been here a while. They're just woven into the fabric of this place.
Louis Armstrong, who signed his letters "Red Beans and Ricely Yours," loved red beans. And that was his way of acknowledging his love of the beans, but also his love of the dish and specifically his sense of place.
The argument can be made that red beans and rice should be named the national dish of New Orleans, you know, if that makes sense. Willie Mae Seton, one of the most famous black restaurateurs in the city, famous for her fried chicken, but also for her red beans. She called this a red bean city, and she was quoted as saying, like, if you ain't cooking red beans here in New Orleans, you're out. Buster Holmes built a career serving red beans. This is an essential dish to New Orleans.
Red beans is one of those dishes that not only is evocative of New Orleans, but a specific rhythm of New Orleans. It ties you into the cultural rhythms of this place. This goes all the way back. This goes all the way back to the beginning of the city.
In the Caribbean, the culinary tradition is to red beans. If you look at the beans in Jamaica, it's kidney beans. If you look at the beans in Haiti, it's kidney beans. And so you've got this line of red beans that comes all the way through the Caribbean and into New Orleans.
The population of the city doubled when the Great Revolution happened in Haiti, and they were bean eaters. They're very similar to our red beans, but I am certain that it was with those Haitian refugees that the bean firmly established itself here in the city.
Red beans and rice was so important and so special here in New Orleans because we served it on a Monday, because on Monday a lot of people did their laundry. And of course we didn't want anything that would maybe scorch if we didn't watch it, or if we went out to hang your clothes up on the line, that they still would be good on a slow fire. So the red beans and rice and the Monday morning laundry goes hand in hand.
We're talking about a dish that is, for want of a better word, a heritage dish. It's a dish that people feel deeply about. It's a dish that people are connected to. It's a dish that for many people who grew up with it means home. And for people from New Orleans, it's camellia beans.
People don't just want red beans, they want camellia red beans. And they call them camellias. I mean, that's just the way we talk about it.
Camellia is ubiquitous with New Orleans, just like red beans and rice, the dish is. It is one of those brands that really is like a cultural signifier associated with the city.
The brand Camellia really began in the French market in New Orleans. One of my grandfathers had a booth there. As time went on, there was really a demand for beans, and we began to specialize in beans. Because beans are really all we know and all we've ever done, and as a family and a company that's been doing this for 100 years, we're not just a brand, we're really a part of a culture and part of a city. And it's something that we take very seriously.
When you sit down to create a Camellia red beans with a little bacon and smoked sausage, You in hog heaven. It's just good. It's good to you, it's good for you, it's good for the mind, good for the soul.
Definitely Camellia's beans, you know, that's something we grew up using here in this city, something we grew up using here in this restaurant. And those beans, you know, you don't have to do much to that, right? You don't rush a red bean. Respect it and let it cook, right? And you just let it speak for itself. And you put them on a plate, and I'm telling you, it's home. You're tasting home every time.
The kidney bean is something that really crosses all societal bounds. Rich, poor, black, white, like everybody eats red beans.
That little red bean truly unites us all in every way. And that was never, never more evident than after Hurricane Katrina.
Hurricane Katrina struck on a Monday. So 1 week later, things have settled at least to the point where you found many of your people, you have a sense of where you are, you realize you're not going home soon. Some friends were wise to rent 2 houses in Baton Rouge. And so they decided that they would gather all the people we knew who had fled to the Baton Rouge area. And we would have a red beans and rice dinner 1 week after Katrina struck. That was an act of faith in ourselves, an act of faith in our city, and a reaffirmation of the strength and importance of our culture. Gathering then to share red beans and rice with other people from New Orleans was kind of like having communion in church. It's a reconnection of you with the community and with something more powerful than you as an individual. Ain't that many other places in this world, let alone in this country, when one dish can have so much meaning.
Red beans and rice starts from a common place, but everyone has their own version, their own twist, their own interpretation.
There are so many different ways to cook red beans, it ends up being, in a lot of ways, like your thumbprint.
You can eat red beans in 10 households in the city, and they will all somewhat be different because some may add a little bit of this, and someone said, well, I put a little bit of that. And a lot of that is from a tradition, and they just want to participate in it so that they don't forget and that they remind themselves of the beauty of where they come from.
I mean, everyone cooks red beans in a single pot, right? It's a one-pot dish. And most everyone uses the same kind of like common group of ingredients, but they all taste very different. So there's something about this city that is cooking the same dish, but creating an infinite variety of tastes and textures out of this very singular one-pot dish.
As long as you cook and have people over at your house, that's the whole point. How you get there is not the problem.
When you make that pot of red beans, you're not just feeding yourself. You're bringing people to the table. You're bringing your family, your friends, and everybody else to the table to enjoy one great meal.
Oh, whenever I cook red beans, the whole pot gone, because that's what they love. They love our red beans.
Beans are a celebration of life in the sense that they're good for you, they taste great, and then you're with people that you really enjoy being with, doing something that you just love to do. And that's eating a big bowl of red beans and rice.